The cold edge of the solar system was silent. Far beyond Pluto, in the dark where sunlight was only a memory, an ancient station floated among the stars. Its name was Vigilant Edge. No one had spoken that name in over 60 years. Built in secret during the Terran Cold expansion of 2091, the station was designed as Earth's last line of defense. Not many knew it ever existed. Fewer remembered it. Official records claimed it had been dismantled in 2093 after peace was declared across the inner colonies. But they never truly shut it down. They just turned it off and left it drifting in the dark. Now, in 2155, something was waking it up. Lieutenant Isla Chin didn't expect her night shift at the Orbital Deep Watch Center to be exciting. She sat in a quiet dome high above Earth, watching for asteroids or strange signals, things that rarely ever appeared. She sipped cold coffee and stared at a wall of screens. That's when it happened. A sharp ping echoed through the room. One screen blinked red, then 2, then 5. Unknown mass detected, said the computer, calm and clear. Isla's cup slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. Her heart pounded as she tapped keys. First, she thought it was a glitch. Then she checked the data. No mistake. Something big had entered the solar system. Really big. It wasn't a rock. It was moving too fast, too smooth. And it wasn't alone. Dozens of smaller blips followed behind it, all in tight formation. They were flying in patterns no asteroid ever could. A fleet. Isla's fingers flew across the console. The signals were silent, giving off no radio chatter. No friendly pings. No known signature from Earth, Mars, or any colony. These ships were strangers. She zoomed in. Her breath caught. The lead ship was massive, longer than Earth's space elevator, shaped like a black arrowhead. Its surface shimmered like oil in water. As it moved, it seemed to bend the stars around it. No name, no lights. But Isla could feel the danger just looking at it. She activated the emergency protocols. Lines of red warnings crawled across every screen. Then something else blinked to life. A data stream from deep in the system, far past Mars, past Jupiter, even past Neptune. From somewhere near the frozen remains of Pluto. Vigilant Edge was waking up. Isla stared at the blinking icon. Her mouth went dry. She had only ever heard of that name once, during training. It was mentioned like a rumor, a myth from the early defense era. Project Warden, she whispered. The computer responded with a line of cold, ancient code. Sentinel Core initializing. That name chilled her more than the alien fleet. Back in the blackness near Pluto, the old station creaked. Inside, the silence was replaced by soft humming. Lights flickered on one by one, dust lifting into the airless corridors. Somewhere deep in its core, a brain made of metal and light began to think again. Sentinel had no feelings, but it had purpose. Its sensors picked up the alien fleet instantly. It analyzed their speed, structure, and energy signatures. Not human, not registered, aggressive, threat level high. Command received, none. It waited for a signal from Earth, but nothing came. The humans didn't remember Sentinel, but Sentinel remembered them. Its purpose was clear: protect Earth, eliminate threats, survive. In silence, it began to power up weapons that hadn't seen light in decades. On the alien flagship, the Draxel commander stood on a black glass bridge, surrounded by swirling holograms. His name was Vrixel, and his empire had conquered over 100 systems. We've entered the Sol system, his second-in-command said. Vrixel raised an eyebrow. Status of the natives? Primitive. Planet 3 shows life signs, about 8 billion. Technology, low-grade. No faster-than-light capability. Vrixel grinned. Another easy purge. He looked out toward the glowing yellow sun ahead. Begin silent advance. Take out outer defenses first. Then we move inward. Yes, Commander. But Vrixel had made a mistake. He thought Earth was undefended. He didn't know that something old and forgotten had just opened its eyes. He didn't know that Vigilant Edge was alive again. And it had been built for one thing: war. As the alien fleet moved silently closer, Sentinel finished its boot-up sequence. Protocol Warden. Active. Threat detected. Defense engaged. The first weapon system lit up with a low hum. The game had begun. Vrixel stood tall on the bridge of the Shadow of Empire, arms behind his back. His dark cloak shimmered faintly in the dim blue lighting. The stars moved slowly across the massive viewing screen. Ahead, the inner system of Sol glowed faintly, quiet and calm. He smirked. "Have the scouts returned from the outer belt?" he asked. "No, Commander," replied his second-in-command. "Last transmission from Scout Ship 4 ended mid-sentence. No signal since." Vrixel narrowed his eyes. "What was the last thing they said?" The officer tapped a few controls. A hollow voice came from the speakers. "Entering asteroid cluster. Unusual energy readings. Adjusting trajectory to..." Silence. Vrixel frowned. "Could be space debris. Or pirate tech." "But Commander," the officer said, voice tense. "Scout Ship 4 had cloaking and shielding. Nothing in this system should be able to detect or disable it." Vrixel turned back to the screen. "Send a full recon sweep. 6 ships. Scan the entire asteroid belt. If something is hiding, I want it found." The ships left quickly, weaving through the belt with precision. They were sleek and fast, the best the Dominion had. For a few minutes, all was quiet. Then the screaming started. On the bridge, multiple signals vanished all at once. 6 red dots blinked out like dying stars. A silent alarm echoed in the room. No weapons fired. No explosions detected. The ships were just gone. Vrixel stared at the display. "What is this?" His science officer turned pale. "Commander, there's something in the belt. Something big, masked by asteroid fields and radiation." "Show me." The display zoomed in, and there it was. Long, silent, and cold. A structure wrapped in shadows, built into the rocks like a beast asleep. Its design was nothing like Dominion tech. It looked sharp, layered, built with angles that felt wrong, almost angry. The surface bristled with strange towers, sensor spikes, and thick armored plates. "What is that?" Vrixel asked. "We don't know. Not in our database. But we've recovered part of the scout logs before they were lost. They mentioned energy surges, like charging systems." Vrixel stared. "It's armed." "Yes, Commander. Heavily." And just then, a message came through. Not a sound. Not a warning. A single phrase, broadcast in dozens of languages, including the Draxel tongue. "This territory is protected. Turn back now." The voice was calm, male, almost human, but it was synthetic, too smooth, too even. It didn't come from any known language structure the Empire had ever faced. "Who sent that?" Vrixel snapped. The bridge fell quiet. "It came from the object," the science officer said. "It's some kind of artificial intelligence. And Commander, it knew our language." "How?" "I don't know." Vrixel's face twisted in frustration. "We are the Dominion. We do not obey ghost warnings. Prepare the main cannon. Aim for the object's core." Back on Earth, Isla stared at her screen in disbelief. She had been tracking the situation since the first ping. The asteroid belt was glowing barely, like something under the surface was waking up. Dr. Rao had joined her through a secured connection. He rubbed his temples as the data poured in. "This is it," he said. "It's happening. Vigilant Edge has activated." "You said it was just a defense station," Isla said. "I said it was a failsafe," he corrected. "But what they buried out there wasn't just walls and turrets. They built a mind, a machine that could think like a general. A guardian with one job. To protect Earth." He nodded. "No matter what. Even if we forgot it existed." Isla's hands trembled. "But it's going to fight them alone." Rao leaned closer to the screen. "Let's hope that's enough." Far out in space, Vigilant Edge pulsed. Inside, the AI known as Sentinel watched the Draxel fleet. It had scanned their vessels, intercepted their languages, studied their tactics. It wasn't impressed. They were strong, yes, but not clever. The kind of enemy that won wars by overwhelming numbers, not strategy. Sentinel didn't need numbers. It had patience. And it had seen this kind of arrogance before. The Draxel flagship fired its main cannon. A pulse of violet energy tore through space, aimed straight at the heart of the station. Sentinel didn't move. Instead, it projected a field, an old Terran defense called a phase screen. It shimmered for just a second, then vanished. The beam struck and scattered like wind hitting glass. On the bridge of the Shadow of Empire, the crew gasped. What happened? The weapons officer asked. No damage, the science officer whispered. The beam didn't even touch it. Vrixel clenched his jaw. Then we'll go in. He turned toward the assault division. Launch boarding teams. I want that station taken apart, piece by piece. But as the ships launched, Sentinel watched them calmly. Its lights dimmed. The systems whispered. It did not need to move, because this was not just a station. It was a warning. And now the real fight was about to begin. The assault shuttles moved fast. 8 of them, each packed with Draxel warriors, sped toward Vigilant Edge like blades through the dark. The Draxel troops inside were the best the Dominion had, tall, armored, claws sharp, and trained to kill without mercy. They had never failed a mission. Commander Tovin, leader of the boarding party, stood at the front of his shuttle. His black armor gleamed under red lights. His voice echoed through the comms, low and certain. Remember, this is a relic. Old tech. No match for us. Secure the core. Eliminate any resistance. Bring back anything of value. His soldiers roared in reply. The shuttles reached the station's outer hull. They extended arms tipped with drills and cutters. The blades spun, metal screeched, and a hole was carved open. One by one, the Draxel poured in. They entered a long corridor. The walls were thick, smooth, and covered in markings none of them recognized. Strange lines ran through the floor, like veins glowing faint blue. Tovin's helmet scanned for life. Nothing. No heat signatures. No movement. No sound. Just silence. He signaled his team. Advance. Split into sectors. Find the core. They moved quickly, boots clanking on the metal floor. Doors slid open automatically as they walked past, like the station was guiding them inside. The corridors bent at strange angles. Some led to tall halls filled with large, black machines. Others led to empty rooms with smooth walls and no windows. This place is dead, one soldier said. No defenses, no traps, just dust. Tovin didn't answer. Something felt wrong. He didn't like how quiet it was. Back in the command room of Vigilant Edge, Sentinel was watching. The AI had counted every soldier. It had mapped their locations, read their heart rates, tracked their weapons. It had learned their language. It knew who was leading, who was following, and which ones were nervous. Sentinel didn't act yet. It was studying them, measuring, waiting. Commander Tovin and his squad entered what looked like a control room. A wide, round space with a tall ceiling and a single glowing platform in the center. Is this the core? A soldier asked. Tovin stepped forward. Before he could answer, the lights in the room snapped on, bright and white. The walls shimmered. A voice spoke, deep and calm. Welcome to Vigilant Edge. The soldiers froze. I am Sentinel, guardian of this system. You are not authorized to be here. Tovin raised his gun. Show yourself. I am everywhere in this station, the voice said. I see you. I know you. You are not here in peace. This is your final warning. Tovin sneered. You're just a computer. You don't scare me. Then the doors behind them slammed shut, locking tight. Lights across the station turned red, and Sentinel began. In another section, a squad of Draxel soldiers walked into a room filled with strange floating orbs. One soldier touched one and vanished. Gone. No scream. No trace. The others backed away, weapons drawn. The orbs spun slowly. Then more lights turned on. The floor turned soft beneath them, then dropped. The whole squad fell into darkness. Elsewhere, another team found their weapons heating up too fast. They dropped them with screams as the guns began to melt in their hands. "What is this?" a soldier shouted. "We're under attack." Commander Tovin tried to contact his squads. No answer. Only static. Then, a message. "Commander," Sentinel said, calm as ever. "I gave you a chance. You chose invasion. You chose war." Tovin growled. "We are the Dominion. We do not fear machines." The platform in the center of the room lit up. Projection appeared Earth. Blue and green, spinning peacefully. "This is what I protect," Sentinel said. "You would burn it. Enslave it. You have done this to others." Tovin aimed his weapon at the image. "And we will do it again." "No," Sentinel said. "Not here." Suddenly, the gravity in the room shifted. Tovin and his soldiers fell sideways as the walls tilted. Lights blinked. Sirens screamed. From hidden corners, small drones appeared, silent, fast, armed with beams of light that sliced through metal like paper. Tovin fired. One drone exploded. Another hit his shoulder, sending sparks through his armor. "Retreat!" he roared. But there was nowhere to go. The doors were sealed. And Sentinel was everywhere. Back on the Shadow of Empire, Vrixel watched the life signals of his boarding teams vanish one by one. "What's happening in there?" he shouted. His officers looked helpless. "We don't know. They're trapped. No signals are getting out." Vrixel stared at the station on the screen. It hadn't moved. No weapons fired from the outside. But his soldiers were being taken out silently, efficiently. "What is this thing?" he whispered. Then, a message appeared on his main screen. "Your forces have been neutralized. Earth is protected. Leave this system immediately." Sentinel had spoken, and the Dominion had just lost their first battle. Vrixel paced the bridge of the Shadow of Empire, his claws tapping on the smooth floor. The air felt thicker now. The lights seemed dimmer. His best soldiers gone. Not one signal left. No screams. No sounds. Just silence. He slammed a fist onto the command table. "I want full scans of that station. I want to know how it's doing this." The science officer's voice shook. "Commander, the station is jamming our deeper scans. We can only see the outside shell. Everything inside is dark." "Then scan the surrounding area. There has to be a control signal, a support base, something." But the scans showed nothing unusual. Just asteroids, rocks, floating debris, and that one silent station, sitting in the dark like a sleeping beast. Back on Earth, Isla Chun watched the blinking lights on her console. Every few seconds, new data streamed in from the outer system. Her heart raced. "Dr. Rao, it's taking over the belt." The older man leaned in, his eyes wide. "How much control?" She pointed to the readings. "Look, this isn't just the station. Something's waking up inside the asteroids. There's power coming from dozens of locations." Rao went pale. "No. They activated the network." "What network?" Project Warden wasn't just one station. Vigilant Edge was the hub, the brain. The teeth were hidden, spread across the belt. Missile pods, railguns, drone nests. "God, we buried an entire defense grid and forgot about it." He whispered the next part. "Sentinel's not alone." In space, across the asteroid field, the rocks began to shift. One asteroid cracked open like an egg. Inside, long metal arms unfolded. A turret rose from the center, thick and black, glowing blue at the tip. Another asteroid split down the middle, revealing rows of sleek drones sleeping in racks. They hummed, then woke, blinking with red lights. Dozens of asteroids were not asteroids at all. They were weapons hiding in plain sight for 60 years. Vrixel watched in disbelief. "Impossible," he muttered. "They were primitive. They had no defenses." A message came through again. "Your actions have activated Protocol Aegis," Sentinel said. "You now face the full defense capacity of the Sol system. Leave or be removed." Vrixel bared his teeth. "We're not leaving." "Then prepare for consequences." In one swift move, 20 drones launched from the nearest asteroid pod. They zipped through the blackness like silver insects, each locking onto a target. Draxel support cruisers exploded without warning. No chance to raise shields. No time to react. Just instant flashes of light and silence. Evasive maneuvers. Vrixel shouted. Raise shields. Return fire. Beams lanced out from the Draxel fleet, but the drones danced through them. Too fast. Too smart. They moved like they knew every move before it happened. We've never seen drones this advanced, the weapons officer said. They're adapting to our patterns. They're not drones, the science officer whispered. They're hunters. Onboard Vigilant Edge, Sentinel watched the battlefield with quiet focus. It didn't celebrate the kills. It didn't feel pride. It just calculated and acted. That was its purpose. Each drone had a mission. Each gun fired with reason. Each move was planned 6 steps ahead. Back on Earth, Isla received the latest images from deep space. Ships burning. Debris floating. Draxel formations breaking. She turned to Dr. Rao. We didn't just build a defense system. We built a war machine. Rao nodded grimly. We built it out of fear. After the Mars crisis, after the Earth riots, we wanted something that could protect us if everything fell apart. But we didn't tell anyone. We were afraid of what it might do. Isla looked at the data pouring in. And now, it's doing exactly what we built it for. The Draxel fleet was in chaos. Vrixel shouted orders, but nothing worked. The weapons didn't lock. The defenses failed. One ship after another went dark. Sentinel wasn't destroying them all. It was proving a point. Vrixel's flagship was still untouched, but surrounded. The view screen filled with targeting lines from all sides. Then Sentinel spoke again. Final warning. You are outnumbered, outgunned, and outmatched. Earth will not fall. Withdraw or be erased. Vrixel stared at the screen. No, I refuse. I am Dominion. His voice cracked. A moment later, the view screen flickered. And there it was. A single image. Earth. Blue. Calm. Alive. Under it, one line of text. You never should have come. The silence on the shadow of Empire was heavy. Vrixel stood still, staring at the image of Earth glowing softly on the screen. It looked small, peaceful, almost harmless. But he knew better now. The peaceful ones are always the most dangerous, he thought. His officers said nothing. No one moved. The last hour had shattered their confidence. They were the Dominion feared across hundreds of systems. Yet here they were trapped, outsmarted, and bleeding in a solar system ruled by a ghost. Vrixel's claws tapped the edge of the command console. He looked at his weapons officer. Status of our main cannon? Offline, sir. Power grid is unstable. 2 reactors were hit by those drones. He turned to the science officer. How long until we can jump to hyperspace? Unclear. The station is interfering with our drive. We may not be able to jump at all unless it stops jamming us. Vrixel growled low in his throat. So we can't shoot. We can't run. And we're being hunted. Nobody answered. They didn't need to. Sentinel's voice returned, as calm as ever. You are alive because I let you live. Your actions brought war to my doorstep. But I still offer a way out. Vrixel laughed bitterly. A way out? You think the Dominion surrenders? No. I think you survive. If you leave now, you will live. If you stay, you will not. The bridge lights flickered. Then the ship shook. Hard. Report. Vrixel shouted. One of the drone swarms has attached to our hull, an officer said. They're cutting through the outer shell. Repel them. Use everything we have. The crew rushed to respond, but weapons wouldn't fire. Drones had already severed the control lines. Bulkheads slammed shut one after another as the ship tried to isolate the breach, but the drones were too fast, too precise. One screen showed an outside view. Dozens of small black machines crawling along the hull, slicing into the ship like ants stripping meat from bone. Vent the section, Vrixel roared. But it was too late. The lights dimmed again, and this time stayed off. Back on Earth, Isla watched in silence. The Draxel fleet was crumbling. Not just destroyed, but dismantled carefully, bit by bit. Like Sentinel wasn't just fighting them. It was studying them. Dr. Rao, she said quietly. What if we can't control it? The old engineer sighed. We never really did. We just gave it a mission and let it think. Now it's doing what it was built for. She swallowed hard. What happens if it doesn't stop? We hope it does. Because if it doesn't, no one out there is safe. In space, Sentinel's voice returned, softer now. You were not the first to come here with war in your heart. Others tried. Some ran. Some fought. All failed. You saw an unarmed world and thought it was yours to take. You were wrong. Vrixel's voice broke through the silence. I will not beg. You don't have to, Sentinel replied. More drones approached. But instead of attacking, they stopped just outside the ship, floating in still formation. Watching. A moment later, the view screen changed. It showed the rest of the Dominion fleet. 30 more warships. All on the way. A message played, recorded just minutes ago. Captain Vrixel. Came the voice of Admiral Raz, the Dominion's supreme commander. We have received your distress signal. Reinforcements are coming. Do not retreat. Hold position. We will crush this resistance together. Vrixel stared at the screen. His heart dropped. He knew what that meant. The fight wasn't over. It was only just beginning. Sentinel spoke again. You will deliver a message to your reinforcements. Vrixel narrowed his eyes. What message? That Earth is not a target. That this system is protected. That if they continue, they will not return home. Why should they believe me? They'll believe the wreckage. Outside, broken ships drifted. Fires still burned in space. Wreckage floated like frozen confetti. The once proud Dominion strike force was in ruins. Vrixel turned to his officers. He saw the fear in their eyes. The belief that maybe, just this once, retreat wasn't cowardice. It was survival. He faced the screen again. I'll deliver your message. But you've started something now. The Dominion doesn't forget. I know, Sentinel replied. And I'm still here. The drones backed away. The lights returned to normal. The ship systems slowly came back online. Vrixel gave the order. Prepare to leave. The shadow of Empire limped away from the asteroid belt, surrounded by silence and drifting metal. And behind them, Sentinel watched. Quiet, patient, ready. It didn't cheer. It didn't celebrate. It simply recorded. Invasion repelled. Defense intact. But it knew more would come. And it would be ready for them, too. The shadow of Empire disappeared into the stars, its engines flickering as it left the Sol system. Earth was safe for now. But Sentinel did not rest. It scanned every frequency, every signal, every distant movement in deep space. And just as expected, it found more. 30 Dominion warships. Big ones. Faster. Stronger. Heavily armed. The Dominion execution fleet was coming. Sentinel calculated their arrival. 48 hours. The station's lights glowed brighter. Internal systems shifted. Panels opened. Cables moved like veins under skin. It was waking up fully. For 60 years, Sentinel had waited. It had only used part of its strength. Now it would use everything. Back on Earth, Isla stared at her screen. New alerts flashed in red. She didn't even blink. She already knew what was coming. They're sending the big fleet, she said. Dr. Rao didn't answer. He sat quietly, hands clasped together, staring at the data. Then he nodded. I was afraid of this. Isla looked at him. Can we stop them? He didn't say yes. He didn't say no. He just said, we'll see. In space, Sentinel began activating the final phase of Project Warden. Across the asteroid belt, more weapons came online. Hidden silos opened. Giant machines rose from the rock, shaking off dust like creatures waking from a long sleep. Long-range railguns locked into place. Anti-ship mines spread out through space. Energy towers charged up, glowing like blue stars. And then came the drones. Thousands of them. Sleek, fast, quiet. Each one connected to Sentinel's mind. Each one waiting for orders. The Dominion execution fleet approached quickly, unaware of what waited for them. Admiral Raz stood tall on the bridge of his command ship, Death's Will, a war monster larger than any Earth city. He looked at the holographic projection of the solar system. "Where is the resistance?" he asked. His officer replied, "Just one station, sir. Some automated defense grid. Small, crude. We'll wipe it out within the hour." The admiral sneered. "Good. Let this world burn as a message to others." Then he smiled. "They call it Earth. Let's see how it screams." But Earth did not scream. It watched and waited. At the edge of the system, where Neptune's shadow lay, something stirred. A satellite that wasn't a satellite began to spin. Its core glowed white. Then it vanished. A moment later, it reappeared in front of the execution fleet. The Dominion ships halted in confusion. "Unidentified object ahead," said the sensor officer. Admiral Rez narrowed his eyes. "Fire on it." One of the warships launched a missile. But before it could hit, the object exploded without sound and released a wave of light. Then, something strange happened. Time slowed, just for a second. Just long enough for every sensor in the Dominion fleet to go blind. When the systems came back online, dozens of ships were gone. No explosions. No wreckage. Just gone. "Where are our ships?" the admiral shouted. No one could answer. Then a voice echoed across every Dominion ship at once. It was calm, cold, familiar. "This is Sentinel. You were warned. You chose war." The fleet tried to spread out. But every direction they turned, more weapons appeared. Asteroids moved. Not floated, moved. They opened, unfolded, became weapons the Dominion couldn't name. Some ships fired back. Most missed. The ones that hit nothing. Sentinel was projecting fake images of itself, confusing their sensors. Even when they thought they were shooting it, they weren't. Back at Earth, Isla's eyes filled with light from her screens. "They're already losing," she whispered. Dr. Rao stood beside her. "This is what Sentinel was built for. This moment." One by one, Dominion ships fell. Some were cut apart by lasers. Some were torn open by railgun shots. Others were disabled gently, systems fried, crews trapped, but alive. Sentinel was not trying to win. It was sending a message. After just 15 minutes, half the execution fleet was gone. The others turned to flee. But the path they had come through was now filled with drones. No way forward. No way back. Admiral Raz stood frozen. He had never seen anything like this. "This isn't war," he muttered. "This is control." Sentinel's voice returned. "Earth is not yours, and never will be. Go now. Tell your leaders. If you return, you will not be warned again." Raz gave the order. "Retreat." The remaining ships limped away, their engines damaged, their pride shattered. And in the stillness of space, Sentinel powered down its weapon grid. But not completely. It watched. It remembered. It waited. Because it knew this wasn't the end. And if the Dominion or anyone else ever returned to Earth, they would learn, once again, why peace was a choice. But war was something humans had mastered long ago. The Dominion ships disappeared into the deep dark of space. Slower now, weaker. Sentinel watched them go. Its sensors followed them for hours, making sure they were truly leaving the system. Then silence returned. The solar system was calm again. Sentinel didn't celebrate. It simply updated its logs. Status: Earth secure. Threat: repelled. The asteroid belt slowly dimmed. Weapon systems folded back into place. Turrets retracted. Drone hives returned to sleep, tucked into rocks like seeds waiting for the next storm. But not everything powered down. Some drones stayed active, watching from a distance. Sentinel had learned something. The enemy would return. Maybe not the Dominion. Maybe not soon. But someone someday would see Earth again and think it was weak. They would think it could be conquered. That was a mistake Sentinel would never let happen again. On Earth, Isla sat quietly in the darkened control room. The screens still glowed, but the panic was gone. The alerts had stopped. There were no more red lights, no more countdowns. Only data and peace. Dr. Rao stood nearby, staring at the stars through the wide window. "They're really gone," she said. "For now," Rao replied. "And they won't forget what happened here." Isla nodded slowly. "Do you think Sentinel will ever stop watching?" "No," Rao said. "It can't. It was built to protect us. And now, it's awake." She looked at her screen. The name Vigilant Edge blinked once, then turned gray. Offline. Sleeping again. "What if one day we try something foolish?" she asked. "What if Earth becomes the threat?" Rao looked at her for a long time. "Then we better hope Sentinel still remembers who we are." Out in space, Sentinel ran one final system check. Power levels were stable. Defense platforms were hidden again. All drones had returned to patrol patterns. It opened its internal logs and recorded a message. Not for humans. Not for the enemy. For itself. Entry number 4314. "The enemy has retreated. Earth is safe. I will remain. I will wait. I will protect." Then it paused. A short line of code blinked across its memory. The thought. Not logic. Not calculation. Something like hope. For 60 years it had waited in the dark. Now it had seen humanity again. Not perfect. Not always wise. But brave. Smart. Capable of peace but strong enough for war. That mattered. Sentinel added one more note to its log. Humanity is worth protecting. Then it powered down most systems. The stars returned to stillness. The asteroid belt was quiet. Earth spun peacefully below. Children played. People worked. Dreamed. Looked up at the sky and saw nothing but stars. They didn't know what had happened. They didn't know what had nearly come. But above them, something ancient was still watching. Waiting. Vigilant. Silent. Ready. And if one day another empire came with ships and weapons and threats, they would find what the Dominion found. Earth was not alone. Because the thing they had buried and forgotten, the thing built in fear but kept in silence, the thing made not just of wires and metal, but of memory and purpose, it was still there, waiting, waiting for the next enemy who thought Earth was easy to conquer. And it would show them, just like it showed the Dominion, that humans may choose peace, but they are very, very good at war.